What is going on, guys? It is Zartix here, and welcome back to another video. Today I am going to show you guys how to rotate better. Rotations. This is something that's commonly looked over, neglected, and just done all around wrong that's actually end up hurting your team and yourself. I figured that I might as well teach you guys how to do this a little bit better, give you guys some tips. Well, you guys can also give me some tips on the video at the end if you want to, or just leave it down in the comments. If I missed the point, if I'm incorrect at any time, just let me know. So the points I'm going to be going over is farming rotations. That is vital, that is important, that's we're going to be going over that. Ganking, counter ganking, so those two kind of go hand in hand. Next up will be objective rotations and farming off of enemy death timers. That one is huge. That one's commonly looked over. Starting off at number 1, we have farm rotations, and these aren't in any order or specific rank on which one's more important over the other. They're all important. They all should be kept in mind, and all of these kind of fall under map awareness as well. But I'm sure you guys will get the knack of that as well as the more you play. Even the pro players, they look over this sometimes. Not normally in the SPL, but like if you look at higher level players, higher ranked players, diamond, plat, it's looked over every now and then. But we normally got a good hand on what needs to be done, what rotations we need to do. So starting off at farm rotations. So this is rotating to farm off of timers, enemy camps, timers, and yada yada yada. So basically, when you're a jungler, this is mainly going to fall under jungler, but we'll also go over support and the other roles as well. Sometimes solo and support kind of go hand in hand, but as a jungler, you're constantly rotating. So you're rotating from speed to blue or speed to XP camp, depending on where your solo laner is. If your solo laner is starting blue, you rotate to blue. If not, then you're going to be rotating to the XP camp while your solo lane is doing the wave. That's at level 1. And make sure you have Hog during that. I don't know if I even need to mention that, but that's meta right now. So have Hog and only use Hog for the XP camp. It will allow you yourself to rotate to mid much more quickly. So once you clear all 3 of those camps, you're going to rotate to mid. Now once you're in mid, you got the option to take the side harpies or go on to the wave. Normally I would always recommend going on the wave. If the jungler and the mid are getting the side harpies, then it's probably best for you to go to the wave unless you have the chance to get a kill or steal those camps. I don't suggest wasting any abilities on that though, because it's just a side camp while you could be already done with the wave and rotating to your red. After that, you have the option to go rotate to duo or rotate to mid or rotate to back camps or oracles. You got 4 options there, 4 different directions. Now sometimes you can rotate to mid, but let's say the duo is playing really aggressive on your side, then it's probably best for you to rotate over there to get a couple kills, get your team ahead, get your team free wave practically without the team getting their wave. So they miss farm because of that. You gotta keep that map awareness of where that jungler is. So did that jungler just finish that wave? Is that jungler going to red? If they decide to go for the mid harpy and you've already completed red, you can do oracles. That is open to you. That is perfect. I do not suggest ever going for the back camp right away, because that leaves your duo open for a gank or your mid lane. Mid lane should be a little bit safer than the duo, but let's say it's pretty stationary or your duo is playing aggressive, you are doing back camp, you're sitting way behind their jungler ganks, maybe they're mid, and you just screwed over your entire team because you wanted a few extra XP. You do not want to do that, so you got to keep that good map awareness while you're rotating. And then it goes back onto rotating to timers. Is it a good idea for me to rotate to a team fight, or should I finish this buff? I made this mistake before I decided to choose timer over rotation. I should have definitely, 9 times out of 10, chose rotation. Keep in mind that one single rotation can change the entire game, so don't neglect it. Do not neglect farm rotations and when you need to be rotating to team fights. Next up, we got ganking and counter ganking. When to counter gank? Well, it's pretty important when counter ganking. Ganking is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go into counter ganking real quick. The pathway on the map is vital. especially if you're sitting at red and let's say your team's getting ganked by a set and he's just diving on them with the enemy duo. You want to make sure you are rotating to that as fast as possible, just so your team doesn't die and you lose an objective. And the same thing with ganking. You're ganking to get your team ahead so they get free farm. You're not doing it for... I know a lot of you are kill hungry, and don't get me wrong, I'm there too. I get greedy sometimes. We all do. We all have that bad habit. But when you're playing ranked or you're playing higher level play, you need to resist and you need to have self-discipline when you are ganking. You are not ganking for the kill. You are ganking so your team gets an objective or more farm, gets XP, gets gold, so they can get to late game or mid game so we can win the game. That's what ganking is all about. I mean, yes, kills are great, you love getting them, you love seeing them, but that's not the main point. Another thing when ganking, it's knowing when your team has a dash up, an escape, whatever it may be, a leaf, a dash, even like on Apollo, he has his mesmerize. That is an escape and a half. A lot of people don't look at it like that, but his mez is seriously nuts. Regardless, you got to be looking for those abilities to go off. If Apollo plays aggressive on her, right, and you're looking to gank, Apollo jumps in, he uses his mez, boom, that is a free kill and a half unless he ults, but you should be good with an on her and whatever jungler you're playing. So look for those ganks, look for those free kills, catching gods out of position. Map awareness is key. I do suggest buying wards. Most people are pretty disciplined on that, but buy wards. Also, another thing, I do recommend pinging the location and the direction you last saw the gods going. It's a lot easier to do on PC, on console, I know that for sure, but look for those rotations from the enemy jungler or players or enemy gods in general, whichever. Next up, I'm going into objective rotations. So it is vital to rotate to objectives as long as your team isn't halfway through a deicide. Let's say you got 3 people down, your support went down, your mid went down, and your solo went down, just you and your carry. Team's doing Gold Fury, they're halfway down, they're low on HP, you're full HP playing dodgy. Is that a good rotation? Yes! Yes! It's a good chance for you to get an objective steal, if not get a couple picks, because you have a long range ult that pulls enemies through, that also does damage on contact. If your ADC is in range, maybe you guys can get a couple more kills as you pull them through, but looking after pulling them through to your pillar, you're probably going to be looking to disengage. But it's objective rotations that are huge. It is vital to look for an objective steal or at least a defense. In this clip of Tsukuyomi, I'm rotating to Fire Giant. I didn't have high hopes for rotating. I didn't think I was going to get picks. My goal though was to buy my team enough time for the enemy team to get off it. I wanted them to get low, I wanted to cause chaos and make sure that, you know what, they can't do this, they cannot start this. And you can even see here that the enemy was trying his hardest to take that Fire Giant, but ends up not being successful, and my team gets the win, gets the Fire Giant. So you're looking for those types of chances to rotate on objectives, even if you don't think you're gonna survive from it. If the enemy team's full HP and you notice that and you don't think you can cause chaos and, you know, make them focus you while they're getting hit by Fire Giant, don't rotate. It's done. That's a completed. That's Fire Giant done. So don't make a mistake like that, because now you're opening up your team to have to defend without you. Next up, farming off of enemy death timers, farming off of jungle camps, waves, whatever. This is commonly mislooked. You guys just want to fight, but you guys are too low to do a objective like Gold Fury or Fire Giant, Pyro, whatever it may be. That is your chance to farm. That's what the pros players see. They look for whenever a god goes down. Is this a good chance for farm? Because farm huge. That's what makes the game goes around. But again, if you're too low to do something and you see that a death timer is coming up, or at least a god is up that has a global ult, you need to get out of there. Especially Thanatos, Apollo, Kernabog. You don't want to be there when that happens. So you got to keep an eye for that as well against the gods you're playing against. But anyways, farming off of enemy death time, as that is what rotations is all about. Now how do you rotate better as a support? Support is rotating for defense or to help allies stay alive. Your teammates need to stay alive for you guys to push objectives. So let's say you're in mid and you see that the enemy support is rotating to a side lane. What do you do in that situation? You should probably get your butt rotating to the other side. If your carry is sitting behind tower and he's getting pressured, that's your chance to rotate. I see this a lot, and a lot of players don't play support, so I can understand why they don't understand this. But with that being said, this is something you should drill in your brain. It works for junglers as well. When you see something happening with your team and your teammate can't do anything about it, they're getting pressured and they're gonna die or lose tower because of it, that's your chance to rotate so you guys can get an objective. You're rotating to keep your teams alive so they can stay alive to get farm or for objectives. Just make sure you're rotating around that objective so you get it. If the enemy carry is pushing far enough to Phoenix, that is your job to back and defend. You want your solo for your support to rotate. Next up, we have solo rotations. Solo rotations are pretty self-explanatory. You don't do it much. You don't do it at all, actually. But there is instances when you're pushing up their lane between tier 2 and tier 1 tower, you have the opportunity to rotate to invade buff camps, or you can rotate to mid and get gold feared. If the solo laner on the enemy team rotates, then that's your chance to rotate back to solo. Make that call out though, and you can go push on that tower or push on their blue buff. You got a chance to farm some more and get that objective. Your team should be fine as long as they are aware that they are being rotated on underneath. Map awareness with a solo laner is very difficult because most solo laners are super focused on the enemy solo lane. If you decide that, oh, I have enough pressure in the solo lane to invade or to do totem, and you don't know where the jungler is, you're leaving yourself open to a death, to get picked. And especially if you don't have an ult available or an escape available, you're leaving yourself open to die. Next up, we have mid rotations. Mid rotations are a bit difficult because I don't play the role too much, but from what I can understand is your goal is to farm as much as you can. You have the highest damage output in the game for camps and waves, so utilize that. Utilize your strengths to farm as much as you can. You should have the most gold in the game or close to the most gold in the game out of all the other players. If you're not farming correctly, if you're losing farm due to a support or a jungler stealing your farm, that is on them. That is not you. That's on them. You need to let them know, hey, I need this. I need the jungle buff. I need this, blah, blah, blah. Make sure you're making those rotations. Don't be a slow rotator to farm. If you're sitting in mid doing nothing while you have a big harp, your side harp, your back camps up, what are you doing? Now, ganking with a mid laner is a bit difficult. Some gods have more trouble than other gods. You have gods like Anubis and Zeus that have no mobility whatsoever, but then you also have gods like Ra and Kukulkan that have a boost of speed that can rotate a little bit easier with a long range ult that does high amount of damage. So you gotta look for those rotations, especially on the duo side. Sometimes you can rotate around solo, but normally that's not as important as getting your carry fed. Another thing is rotating to objectives as a mid laner. That's something that's commonly mislooked, but you have the kill secure and you have the damage to keep the gods off it. Most mid laners actually have AoE damage, so if you see that the enemy team is grouped up around an objective or grouped up with each other, you have AoE ability, so make that rotation so you can objective secure or get a kill. Lastly, I have carry rotations. Carry rotations hardly ever happen until late game or until objectives need to be taken. Normally what you're going to be wanting to do as a carry is farm your lane. As a carry, you're not going to make very many rotations, so you want to be farming your lane as well as the purple buff, the big harpy, and the back camps. If you're going over to the back camps, that kind of leaves an opportunity for the enemy ADC to push your lane as long as you didn't clear that wave. So you want to make those rotations so that doesn't happen. That's also leading your team to an open gank when you go to back camps, so get back camps on your way back. Rotating to objectives is vital for carries. You have protection shred and objective shred, so that is huge for you. When you are a late game carry, you are the one that is doing the objective shred, so you are attacking the gold fear, the pyromancer, the phoenixes, the towers, the fire giant. That is your mojo. You want to make sure you are rotating late game to that. Don't worry about that tier 1 tower you held on all game because your team is doing fire giant. So no one's gonna fault you for not rotating early game But if you're not making a call out when your enemy ADC is rotating mid for a team fight, then you're doing something wrong. If you see that that rotation is happening, you have an opportunity to either push that tower or rotate to your team. If you think your team can't hold off the enemy ADC, then that's probably best for you to rotate down over there. But if not, if you think your team can handle it, if your team can back off without losing the objective, you have an open tower. That is all I got for you guys today. That is 5 rotation tips for you guys. If you guys like this video and if you guys have any tips for me to improve, please let them down in the comments. I love improving, I love learning more. I'm not saying I'm the best player in the world, but I do know how to play Smite. At least I think I do. But if you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.